Hi, I'm Richard Moore, Chairman and Ideation Director of Richard Moore Associates. You probably know of us for the branding work we've done in Vietnam for the past 25 years. Today, I'd like to speak with you about what's at the foundation of good branding, good ideas. For the past 5 years in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, I've been conducting workshops on how to develop better ideas for your brand. And I especially want to describe design thinking. It's a process of developing product ideas and more. Some of the world's leading brands have been using it since it became popular in the early 2000s. I'll also describe a fast-track proprietary version of design thinking that we call QuikTrek. Perhaps the best way to describe how design thinking can help you develop better products is how it compares with the way that business thinking usually does that, as part of a marketing plan. As a business person, you'll already know the steps in a marketing plan, so I'm just going to describe them briefly. Note that by products, I also mean marketed services. With business thinking, product planning usually begins with a product vision. From the popular description that you see here of what's included in a product vision, you can see that the business thinking method begins with a pretty focused idea of what the product is to do and who it is for. That product vision is used to help structure the next step, market research, which usually includes carefully organized focus groups that are composed of product users drawn from the thickest part of the consumer bell curve, where most of the spending occurs. Market analysis follows, wherein what's been learned about consumer buying habits and attitudes about the product are articulated, along with the product market's characteristics and trends. Another step, product strategy, defines the features that will differentiate the product and that tests and refines them. Concurrently, the step of market strategy more closely defines the market which the product is for and shapes how the product will be differentiated within it. Meanwhile, a detailed prototype will be crafted that fits the product and market strategies for further testing. And finally, a communication plan that includes a big idea and media plan will be developed to launch the product into the marketplace. This is a forward-moving process of steps by specialist teams, each step building on the next to meet a schedule that might take half a year or more to complete. Now let's look at the design thinking system for product development. To begin with, it is conducted entirely by a single team of 4 individuals, each carefully chosen to represent the 4 modes that comprise design thinking. For the first step, unlike the product vision step of business thinking, we need to know very little about the product itself. In fact, we don't want to know such information because we're looking for a new idea and we want to keep our minds as open as possible. So instead, our first step is orientation, a preliminary desktop research exercise in which we expand the team's knowledge of the various contexts that the product will exist in, including the segment's historical, political, economic, social, and technological developments, recent trends of the company, its consumers and competitors, and the first stage of a SWOT exercise, the company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Each team member is assigned an area of study, and after they share what they have learned with each other, the research mode formally begins. The empathetic research mode for design thinking differs a lot from the focus groups and in-depth interviews used for marketing plans. We are looking for extreme users drawn from the early adapters and free thinkers at the beginning of the segment's bell curve. Why there and not where most of the customers are? Because we're not evaluating an idea we already have. We are looking for insights that will ignite new ideas. Another difference is that with standard research methods, it's forbidden to recruit anyone familiar with the interviewers. Our objective is to gain the interviewee's trust so that we ourselves can empathize deeply with the problems and aspirations they share with us. So, if an interviewee is already acquainted with one of the interviewers, great. It helps us establish a better rapport. We will only interview about 5 individuals, so we must carefully decide on the life experiences that we wish to learn from, relative to the product segment. And we want to be sure the interviewees are distributed well within that spectrum. The interviews will be conducted for an hour or more in the interviewee's own home or office, because we'll want to note anything they've collected and displayed that might give us insights into their character. We'll also engage them with questions related to their purchasing habits that will enable us to understand how their positive and negative experiences might relate to steps along the decision path. For example, one interviewee showed us these packages made of recycled paper to express her choice of green brands when she goes shopping. By the end of the interview, we will have a pretty good idea of the individual's persona. Moreover, unlike the shallow knowledge learned from the character of individuals in a business thinking focus group, our interviews will have developed a feeling of empathy for the particular life of each interviewee. Directly after the interview, the two team members will convene, usually at a nearby coffee shop, and with support of a specially trained administrative person, they will note everything that came from the interview. During the research mode, we might gather from 50 to 100 different bits of information. In the analysis mode that follows, we'll transform that information into individual post-its of facts, feelings, findings, and even preliminary ideas. Then, each of the 4 team members will describe their experience of their interviews to the others, so that collectively all team members will have an empathetic understanding of each of the subjects. A written empathy map is prepared for each interviewee and also a written persona plot. It's impossible to learn this much about what customers really feel from a typical business thinking qualitative research session. What's important in our process is not that we have documented these feelings, but rather that each member of the team learns to empathetically feel as the interviewees do, enabling the team to think on an emotional right brain level where original ideas are born. From this analysis, what may not at first have seemed so obvious becomes clear. Patterns emerge that help us understand ways that products and services may be of greater benefit to users. And of course, not only for the users we've interviewed, but also for those in the larger part of the customer bell curve. Having explored the real problems that our interviewees feel, we are now ready to reformulate the problem or problems that we need solutions to. And we apply a method called laddering to help us with that. We are then ready to begin ideating. The most common method of ideation in the business thinking method of product development is brainstorming. But brainstorming is only one of many types of ideation. From my study of ideation methods and application of them in workshops over the past 5 years, we've compiled over 70 different ideation methods to draw upon in ideating the unique nature of any problem that may present itself. First, diverging outwards to find unique solutions, and then converging inwards to determine which ideas might yield the best products and features for the marketplace. In the business thinking method, before a prototype is made, the product features are decided upon. But in the design thinking prototyping mode, prototyping is thought of as a method of thinking with your hands, and ideation is still active. The 4 team members all use rough sketches and crude models, assembled by cutting, folding, and taping 3D paper mock-ups that are easy to modify and quick to replace with other versions. Collaboration is encouraged, and some of the original interviewees may even be invited to participate. As a first proof of concept, the team will be challenged to create a big idea for the leading ideas and roughly apply it to a key type of communication media to ensure that the ideas are marketplace viable. When the final idea is selected, a more refined version is made, and 3 of the interviewees will be individually invited to a special introduction so their reactions can be observed by video. Any modifications will be included for further refinement in the team's final presentation to the brand's management. For service projects, instead of models, written scenarios are used and even acted out. Business thinking excels in learning how products don't quite meet the needs of some customers and then improving them. It's a linear process wherein every step follows a logic worked out in the previous step. Revisiting a prior step is considered a failure, and doing so is costly. Design thinking, however, is more of a circular process wherein the team can circle back and forth among points. This enables looking at problems in different ways, resulting in unexpected solutions. It's a more multi-directional method that's akin to the right brain thought process of designers. Good designers are problem solvers, and that's why the process became known as design thinking, and not because the method is about the creation of visual designs. Can design thinking replace the business thinking product planning method? Or is it used in conjunction with it? Well, that depends on how much of the business thinking method you typically use. For many SME brands, the use of focus groups, the development of a thorough marketing plan, the creation of a big idea, and plotting of a media plan are too costly, and the length of time it all takes may be impractical. For these brands, a QuikTrek will enable them to develop effective ideas that they never would have gotten by facing the market alone. Or for brands that use most of the business thinking product planning method, a QuikTrek can help them get a lot more out of their expenditures. The orientation mode will give them a much broader perspective of how their business fits within today's circumstances. With the deeper customer knowledge they will have from the empathetic research mode, they will be able to conduct focus groups more wisely and analyze the results more effectively. The insights and ideas that come out of the analysis mode will add a much better understanding of how a brand's customers actually fit into a market analysis. The synthesis mode will allow the product vision step to begin with more differentiated functions and features. And the design thinking prototype mode will ensure that expensive prototypes are more likely to appeal to the end user. What's more, the big idea that's conceived as a proof of concept and the consumer decision path will give a business thinking marketing communication plan a head start. Here's an example of that from the design thinking project we conducted with our client Kangaroo, the largest domestic appliance brand in Vietnam. The team thought outside the box to adapt a meat distribution refrigeration method that maintains temperatures between a refrigerator and a freezer. By modifying one of their freezer models, within 2 months, Kangaroo was able to bring to market a new Dong Mem category of home refrigeration appliances that keeps food fresh longer without need of defrosting. Here is the rough point-of-sale big idea that was created as the proof of concept for the Dong Mem, and how that idea is used now in marketing communications. Kangaroo now offers a full line of these Dong Mem appliances. After the initial orientation mode, our QuikTrek process is very tightly scheduled to develop a product or service idea in just 3 weeks, and the timeline is composed mainly of half days, so that your team can manage their other responsibilities without interruption. The QuikTrek team is composed of 2 members from your team and 2 members from ours, so we are assured of the team knowing the brand deeply and of following the process effectively. At the beginning of each mode, I personally coach the team about the steps within the mode, and I monitor progress every day of the trek. If you find that a design thinking QuikTrek is good for your brand, I look forward to working with you. Thank you.